welcome back to another episode of FWTV, episode 5, Ask Romocop, where I'm going to answer a series of questions that were submitted by a few of you. We'll resume some interviews the next couple weeks. I got a few lined up, hopefully a few more after that, but let's get right to it. The first question is submitted by the Oklahoma City Phantoms. Which Star Wars movie is the best? I hope I don't lose any friends over this, but Return of the Jedi is the only one I've ever seen. That's pretty weird, huh? Everybody loves Star Wars, but I've only made it through this one. So this is going to be the best one because that's the only one I've seen. If you could teleport into any movie, which one would it be? Another good question from James. All these lime green questions are from James Murray. I'm going to have to go with Back to the Future 1, 2, and 3. That's kind of a little cheat move there, but I love all three, and I'd love to go into any of the three. I couldn't break the tie, so I chose them all. If you could hang out for a day with any member of the Dallas Cowboys, who would it be? This should come as no shock either. I'm going to go with Jason Witten. He's just an all-around good dude. Future Hall of Famer. I thought about Jerry Jones, but I don't know if I want to party with strippers. Witten's the man. I mean, look at the no-helmet thing there. He's tough as nails. He'd be a great guy to have a conversation with. Alright, these next questions, the orange ones, are from Damien. He wanted to know what my outline for drafting players was going to be in this draft, but I wasn't going to let him ask that, so he got to ask me a couple other questions, starting with, name the top 3 reasons why Guns N' Roses is a better band than Metallica. Alright, well, first off, they're not, but I'm going to play along. This is a really hard question. I really had a hard time getting to 2. I don't even know if I can make it to 3. Number 1 is that Steven Adler is a better drummer than Lars. That's pretty easy. Number 2, Alright, moving on. I hope that answered your question, Damien. His next question is, what is the best game, worst game, most frustrating game, and most euphoric game you've seen Dallas play? Okay, well, going by the question, I'm going to go with games that I've seen. And all those are going to be semi-current, Romo era, before that a little bit, the end of the triplets. And I'm going to go first with Monday Nighter, where Deshaun Jackson drops the ball like a dumbass right before the goal line. That was just a really all-around good game. It was back and forth, high scoring, and the Cowboys came up on top. So that's a good way to start this. Alright, this next one's the 96 NFC Championship game against the Packers. It's just all around perfect. I've seen it on DVD a lot. I remember it vaguely as a kid, but it's perfect. I mean, just the look of it is vintage. I like it. Pat Summerall and John Madden are the announcers. It doesn't get any better than that. It's just a really good game. I'm going to have a lot of answers to a lot of these. It was too hard to narrow down. It's a really good question. This is an exciting one. It was when Troy Aikman threw the overtime bomb to the Rocket there, and he scored, beating the Redskins in overtime. I remember I was very excited about that when I was in my teens. This is the worst damn game I've ever seen. I really hated looking up some of these bad ones, but that was the question. So I'm moving on to the worst games I've seen the Cowboys play. Wade Phillips got his ass handed to him 44-6, and I barely watched it here and there. I just sat on the computer, kept looking up at the score. The Eagles would score again, taking a little piece of my soul. This was definitely a frustrating one. Of course, it came to the hands of the Broncos and Peyton Manning, the great. But Romo had a fantastic game. He almost broke the passing yards record, which I think he would have if things would have went a tiny bit different. It was a really good game, but I don't know how he was going to win that game, giving up over 50 points to the Broncos. But definitely one of the most frustrating ones. Ugh, this one. I don't know if this is frustrating or the worst game or both or a combination of both. I just hate it. I couldn't even look up the picture where Patrick Creighton drops the wide open pass that would have went for a huge touchdown. So I chose this one where he half-assed ran his route on the sideline and the ball ends up landing in the end zone in front of both of those guys right there. If that bastard just would have ran like normal, he would have scored. I think sometimes frustrating worst games kind of blend together, and that happened here. This is week 1 from a couple years ago. It's one of the worst games I ever seen in my life. It was just horrible. Romo scrambles around here at the end, hits a guy in the end zone for a touchdown, a would-be touchdown. I don't even remember who he threw it to because all I can remember is what that dumb son of a bitch right there did. Look at him, holding him like they're on a date or something. Alex Barron. Ugh. Thanks, Damien, for making me have to look that up and relive that again. I was so mad. I went from being super happy to super angry in about 12 seconds. It was like a severe roller coaster. About the only time I ever got really pissed off to where I had to take my shirt off and beat it against the wall. It was that bad. Moving on to most euphoric game, I'm going to go with 2 here. The first one's going to be the Cowboys versus the undefeated Saints. That was a really good game. Nobody gave the Cowboys a chance. The Cowboys got up on them from the get-go and didn't let up. And DeMarcus Ware made them feel it in the end. That game was also special because I shared it with a friend of mine, Mr. James Murray. That was a good night. We won. We're still undefeated when we watch a Cowboy game together, but we haven't done that in a while. So maybe we'll break that out sometime soon. And the last game I'm going to highlight is this one. Another one I watched with James Murray. A playoff win against the Eagles. This son of a bitch and his dancing air guitar. I cannot stand that asshole. We whooped them pretty bad. Won a playoff game. Finally shut people up slightly because nobody ever shuts up about the Cowboys. But it was a good feeling and I was pretty happy. It was a lot of relief. And to not see that son of a bitch do the air guitar thing again was definitely a blessing. Alright, the next set of questions are from Victoria's Secret, otherwise known as Brittany. She wants to know what made you decide to start the group and how do you feel about the way the group has evolved thus far. That's a pretty good question. I went and dug up the original post that I had made, and that's right here. I did it just for the hell of it, really. I'd won a bunch of titles, and I just joined a live draft league, so I felt like my fantasy football career, quote, quote, needed to have a commissioner position in it, and I thought it was the right time for me to do that, and I put out a random feeler. And that's how you guys joined. You know the story from there. But here are the comments from that post, which the very first one is Brittany. That's pretty ironic. Pretending to join the league, and then eventually I add her in there. Everybody knows this story. Ironically, Martin is the first real person to join the league. That's pretty ironic. And then Tasha joins, and then Damien is on the next slide, I believe. And there is Damien joining. The first champion of the league. That's pretty fun. I'm glad that the people that joined and it wasn't some weirdos. You know, I have some weirdos on my friends list. So I took a risk just being open and public about it. I'm normally pretty reserved, but I wanted to see what would happen. And I don't think the league would have lasted long if I had to, half of them as weirdos, even though most of you guys are classified as weirdos. But I like you guys, so that's a good thing. I'm happy we have survived this long. I'm not sure how long fantasy leagues go. Some go really long. Some don't last a year, but we're on the right track. We're stable. I like how we've evolved. We have a damn TV show now. That's pretty crazy. I'm happy about that. I'm happy about all the members. I feel like everybody's going to compete. Everybody's going to try hard. Everybody's going to play their own game. Everybody is going to show up every week at least with a lineup, unlike some people that used to play this game. And I think all those will be big time improvements, and we'll keep going forward and see what happens. Now the last question is from myself to myself. Since I have to beg people to give me questions, I needed to put a question from myself in here, and that is going to be what happened to Chef Billy. And I have some exclusive information and footage for you all, and that'll wrap up this episode. Thanks to everybody, and we'll have another interview next time. I'll see you.